Hey everybody, Jake Noecker here, and something a little bit different today. A big movie just premiered, Journey to the UFC, Joe Pyfer's UFC story. And today I have the man himself, Joe Pyfer, and also the director of the movie, Chandler Henry. So first of all, let me just say, guys, congratulations. Great film. You really know how to make a grown man cry. Joe, let me just start with you, man. How does it feel to have like your first little piece of Hollywood under your belt?
I guess I don't know. I don't think about that. I don't give a shit about Hollywood. I care about the message that the documentary is going to provide for kids that are struggling, that were like myself on this journey, and that's what I care about, and I care about that it helps my friend Chandler, get his skills recognized and his talents, and I think the beauty in the way he was able to articulate a message that I couldn't necessarily vocalized to 100% efficiency. That's what I care about. So I don't really care about Hollywood.
Yeah, sure, man. And Chandler, I come from a filmmaking background too. Before I got into MMA media, that's what I did. So I know how grueling that filmmaking process can be, although it's usually very exciting and fun. So how does it feel to have this done under your belt? And it's a great, fantastic piece that you have in your resume now.
Thank you, man. It feels amazing. It feels like this is always how it's supposed to work out, with me and Joe working on this sort of thing together. With his story, as you've seen the film, it really is kind of an incredible hero's journey, so to speak. So, what Joe just said about that message and how that impacts other people, that's kind of what I care about too. When I make even like a YouTube video, what I'm thinking about, what will someone take from this, right? And I think that anyone who's struggling or who has been in a similar situation with Joe in his family life, or a similar situation with Joe dealing with injuries in sports, that you watch this film and you'll be motivated to overcome what you've overcome, what you can, because of what Joe overcame.
And I saw a little interview you guys did. I guess it was at the premiere, saying, Joe's a real life superhero. And that was totally the vibe I got watching the movie, just with the way it was edited and the score. Was that like really important for you to try to display in the movie?
For me, yeah,
Yeah, for Chandler.
100%. 100%. I that speech, I was joking with Joe. We were texting out yesterday when I sent that video. I'm like, yeah, I've been thinking about that for years, because that is how I always viewed Joe. Right when I met him in high school, I was like 6'8", 230. And the first thing Joe did when he met me in gym class was he picked me up and hoisted me over his head, just to kind of mess with me and prove that he could pick me up. And I've never been picked up like that before. So like, I've always viewed him as like a larger than life, like superhero type character. And, I don't want to spoil too much of the film, but there are things that Joe overcomes that reminds me of like these big Hollywood blockbuster movies where, like that speech you're talking about on Instagram. We know the good guys win in superhero movies, but we still go and watch them because there are professional writers and screeners and directors who make their journey as impossible as it can be to overcome. And when I'm witnessing Joe's life and being through him with him on this journey, I'm like, oh my gosh, more he has to overcome, and he overcomes it. So that's why he feels like a superhero to me. And that's what I tried to do in the movie, is really ramp him up as an unbeatable force, break him down, and show what fuels him, bring him up, back down again. It's the classic hero's journey.
And Joe, like so many hours go into filmmaking. I'm sure, this was an hour-long film. I'm sure there was many more or much more footage behind the scenes we didn't get to see. So how do you feel Chandler did, like displaying your story? Were you like, is it true to your story? Is it how you think it should be perceived, so to speak?
It's more than true to the story, because when you're able to, I think, and I know nothing about film, but like I just said, he's able to bring a message that I can't necessarily articulate into words, where somebody feels that emotion when you watch it, when you see it, and you understand what I'm going through at these time periods in my life. If I was to just say it to you, you might have a little bit of sympathy. You might have a little bit of like, ah, man, like that sucks. That's tough, but the film really brings out the emotion that you would feel for someone that you couldn't help. And I just think it brings back what those feelings felt like for me. As far as how it impacts other people, I know from the feedback that I have heard from the select few that have been able to see it on our team, it's brought everybody to tears, or it's brought everybody this passion of inspiration to go on and want to, push for their own goals and push for their own dreams. So I think Chandler has done an amazing job. And one thing I keep reiterating is, because I've always told Chandler, even before this documentary was made and we did other stuff, I was like, man, your true gift is really being able to take kids like me that had to, take a little bit to grow up and mature. But your real gift is being able to express what other people don't know how to, vocalize. And I think that's one of his biggest talents. And he expresses that through his work, obviously. And I think he's one of the best to do it, and furthermore, I don't think this is some average fucking documentary. This is not your run of the mill average, and I don't expect it to perform or be released as a run of the mill average documentary. I'm not average, he's not average, and nothing about this is average. And nobody at this level, this far down on the chain in UFC, and even prior to UFC, has put something together like this. So I think Chandler's the one and only, and that's why we've worked together for 10 years as friends, as now business partners and things like that. And anybody that doesn't utilize this man or give him what he deserves will miss out severely. So Chandler's the man.
100%, 100%, like UFC quality work. Like, if I didn't know who made this, I'd be like, wow, that's like an ESPN movie right there. So Chandler, I got to ask you, like,
I mean, and listen, like, I'm not a UFC champion. I am not a top contender, but everybody knows by my performances with these question marks in their head that I'm going to be there. Right. But this story is told before I get there. So that's what makes this special. The timing of this is bigger than the Conor McGregor's already done it. The guy's a millionaire. You know what I mean? All these guys have done it. I haven't done shit yet, but I haven't lost in the UFC. So perfect timing.
How long did this movie take to accumulate? Like, was this a long process? Can you kind of explain the production process to me, Chandler?
So Joe and I, like, we met in high school, right? And we weren't best friends in high school. We were friends. We had gym class together. And I remember our senior year, there was this thing called PE major. We had gym class every single day. It was a blast. Like, Joe and I were lifting weights, playing dodgeball, playing basketball every day. But really in college, I had a YouTube channel at the time that was taking off. It was gaining subscribers and stuff. And my brother had actually bought me a camera to do YouTube with. And it was really cool. It could do slow motion video. And I was in college, and Joe was knocking people out like crazy in his amateur and pro fights. I think just amateur at that point. And I would always be pulling out my phone and showing my friends, like, yo, look at this knockout. And it would be like, page side blurry video from an Instagram live. And I just kept thinking, like, man, these knockouts, like, I didn't know UFC that well at that point. I'm like, he's flatlining people. Like, these aren't TKOs. These are people going to sleep. I wonder what it would look like on, like, my new camera, So I texted Joe and was like, hey, let's film together. And that, I didn't even think about it as like a money-making opportunity or my career at that point at all. I just wanted to see what it would look like on my new camera. So Joe and I, we go and film together. And then the next day, I remember we filmed again the next day, and it was at this really cool gym with incredible lighting. And that was the day where I became hooked. That was, what I'm talking about, Joe, with the, where we hit the boxing glove. Yeah. And I was hooked that day. And
your parents weren't happy?
Yeah, they were like, don't go into that dangerous part of Philadelphia. I was like, Mom and Dad, I'm going. And man, what a day, because that kind of launched my whole career, because I knew a little bit about Joe's story in high school. And that summer, we just dug deeper and dug deeper. There wasn't even a plan to make a documentary. I ended up making a documentary on Joe that summer that was a full hour long. That was in 2018. Mm-hmm. And when I got back to college after summer, one of my teachers helped me submit it to a documentary competition, a student film competition. And it got second place for documentary of the year in the country. And that's when I was like, oh, is this going to be my career? So to get back to your question, we only started filming for this documentary in September, right? But this has really been 6 years in the making, because it has footage from 6 years. It has all that work from the past 6 years, but the interviews and stuff, that all started in September, the debut and all that. And I was able to finish it. I remember I was trying to finish it before the start of the new year, because I knew it was going to take a while to get it picked up. So I finished it December 28th, sent to Joe and was like, what do you think? So it was, I made it really, really fast, but I was able to make it really, really fast because I had been working on this stuff for 6 years with Joe.
And that's how documentaries go a lot of the time. You know, you 10 years of work and then a year of,
Right.
okay, we're going to make it into this movie. And Joe, coming into this, when Chandler presented you the idea, or I'm not sure how that happened, were you nervous at all to tell your story on such a large scale? Excited? How did you feel coming into this?
No, I wasn't nervous at all. I'm not a guy that's like nervous in front of a camera or nervous in front of, millions or thousands of people. That doesn't phase me. I was hesitant at first, just to really put, trust that somebody can deliver it in an honest and in an impactful way, and in a way that isn't like this. First and foremost, this isn't a self-pity documentary. You know what I mean? This is a perseverance, and number one word that comes to mind about myself and my past is resilience, and self-belief. Someone that didn't quit, and someone that didn't give up. So, the hesitance was, I would say, to really understand how talented, see how talented Chandler was, and also prove to him, to his own self, that he could do something on this scale. So, I would say that I was a little bit hesitant at first, but I trusted him, and I'm thankful I did. And then the other part of it was like, me and my dad have kind of been back and forth over the years, as far as like just being cordial on a text, but it was always toxic. There was no cordiality. It was always detrimental to my mental health, because it was always negative. It was always, you were this, you were that, you were a bad kid, all these things, and I really couldn't bend my head around it. So once I realized, like, man, like this is going nowhere. We're never going to see eye to eye. He'll never admit it. He'll never own up, as a man should, for the abuse of his children, but not just one, but five. You know what I mean? And that's what really just, I was like, you know what, fuck this guy. Like, I don't have any reason to be sad or upset about something I had no control over, and that's one thing I had to forgive him for, and I do forgive him. But I do think that it deserves to have the scale that it's going to be on, to be able to show athletes such as myself and kids, doesn't matter what the sport is, that you can overcome adversity, overcome abuse, overcome poverty, and still come out of it and see the light on the other side. So I would say the hesitancy was to, again, how far can Chandler really deliver this message to its 100% truth, and emotionally, and really hit people emotionally. And, I had to let go of the fact that me and my father will never coexist together in this lifetime.
Yeah, that's a very hard thing to tackle. And that's, just watching the documentary, that goes to show how much growth there's been. Just, I don't need to tell you, you just spelled it out for us. And but I'll get into more of that in a second, because I am curious about some of that. But before we get into that, I do want to know, the premiere looked awesome. And I saw you both posted on Instagram, tonight was a movie, which usually means it was a good night. Good pun too. So Chandler, how did you feel the premiere went?
I mean, it's a dream come true for sure. I think when I texted him like a 5-paragraph essay at like 3 a.m. in September about how I want to do another documentary, and this time it's gonna be bigger and better, and we're gonna get it on some big streaming service. We're gonna have a big premiere. Part of that is me kind of convincing myself that I can do it. But Joe, his confidence is contagious. So what he was just talking about, seeing if I could do it, he put all the faith in me from the beginning, and his belief in me helps me have that confidence. So when I tell him like, oh, we're going to do it big, we're going to have a premiere, Joe's not like, oh, we'll see. He's like, yeah, of course. Of course that's what will happen. So being there at the premiere, with Joe and I's history of 10 years, we've been through a lot of stuff together, and it was just surreal for me. Joe doesn't really get starstruck by those moments. Me and him handled them a little differently. Joe's, like I said, very confident, like I expected to be here. And for me, it's like, yeah, I guess I did expect to be here in a way, for sure, where I also wouldn't be in this career, but just to be there with Joe, have people there to watch my movie on Joe's life, it was just really special. And Disruptive Sports Group and Bonnie and Andrew at Talent Resources, they put together that whole night. It was incredible. It really was like first class all the way around. I had some friends able to come to it, and they're all like, oh my gosh, that was big time, man. So if that's any indication of what the rest of this is going to be like, it's going to be huge.
And Joe, how's it been for you working with Disruptive Sports Group? Like, what's your role with the company? What kind of goals are they setting with you?
I mean, first and foremost, me or Chandler wouldn't be in this position with the premiere period if it wasn't for Alex Davis and Disruptive, Bonnie, and Sarah, and all these people that are basically trying to make me better than any other fighter out there with the resources that they have and that I now have. Whether it be their lawyers, whether it be their social media team, whether it be Alex, and just making sure that I'm okay. He's not some guy that's just out here blindly helping me. He's trying to set me up for success, and the people I talk to and the things that I'm doing and the interviews I'm doing and making just decisions on what's fair for everybody in this, not just myself, but for Chandler. For him, it's got to make sense for everybody. And basically they are just the biggest source that I have as a resource, as a fallback, as guidance, as a mentor. I really have taken to like Alex Davis aside from just a business. And, I talk to him almost every day, which I'm very appreciative of, because if you understand the level of success that man is on, for me to be able to have a direct line to that man and be able to pick his brain and, tell him even just on a personal level, the things that bother me or what I'm going through, it's really nice to have not just a team, but a person of that level that gives a shit, that cares, and has provided this opportunity not only just for me and the justification of my life and my story, but also for someone like Chandler, who, he is someone who has never been in the spotlight. He is someone who has never been recognized for his talents to this level. He has been successful in his endeavors on a certain scale, but to be able to go to this should be life-changing for him. And if it's not, I would be very upset at that. Because without him, none of this comes to fruition. And at the same time, without Alex Davis and his team and Bonnie and all them, we wouldn't have this platform to be able to do it on. So I'm just thankful that timing really is everything. And when I met Alex Davis and DSG to work alongside of my management group, which has also been amazing with my Vayner Sports, Lloyd Pearson, it's literally just a culmination of everybody working alongside of each other while each having their own mission. So it's, you know what, man, all I can say is timing is key. And there's some beautiful people out there that are making this happen. And I'm forever grateful.
And Joe, this is more of a personal question. So if you don't want to answer, feel free and we can move on. But as a viewer, I left this documentary with a few questions, but one of them was, do you still talk to any of your family? Because you just mentioned your dad and yourself have kind of reached out over text to really no avail. Since being 2-0 in the UFC with all the hype, like, has anyone reached out? What's that look like now?
Yeah, no, not a single person has reached out since I've been in the UFC. Recently, I had my sister that reached out because she came up with a crazy number of saying that I owed her money. That was the only reason she reached out, was a money basis. I have 4 sisters, you know what I mean? And that's all I'll say on that. I'll never trash my sisters because they were a part of being abused just like I was. And I do love them and I do care about them, but I do have no contact with any of them. I'll leave it at that because I think they have to kind of mature or grow up or face the fact that I am allowed to express my struggles. And you have to understand as well that my sisters were not a part of my life from basically 16 years old on, 17 years old on, whatever you want to call it, 16, 17, due to the fact of parents' divorce and me splitting and moving to PA. We rarely saw each other and we didn't see each other for a few years. And mind you, we didn't see each other for a few years until I reached out, until I went out there. So it was a little bit of a very distant relationship, friendship. As far as my father, when I say that, like, reaching out, it's never been on a good basis. It's always been on, like, when I lost my I was always told I was going to lose. Like, he would text me and say, "You're gonna fucking get your ass whooped. The second you fight somebody, you're gonna get knocked the fuck out. You're a pussy. You're this, you're that," and very, very vulgar and demeaning conversations, you know what I mean? But I'm a strong kid, man. I'm not sitting here like, if anything, I would get pissed off, because my immaturity of entertaining at that time someone who, could still get a little bit of a rise out of me, but he would never be able to. He would get a rise out of me and get a reaction through a text, but never a big enough reaction that I would go and see him physically. He tried to challenge me a couple times to a fight and things like this, and it was just, you know, it was toxic all the time. He always was preying on my downfall, and it came true for him at a certain point. But what he didn't know is how far I would be willing to go just to fucking succeed for myself, you know, and the people that did believe in me. So, you know, ultimately, I don't do what I do in revenge of my parents that haven't supported. And I'm thankful for my upbringing. I'm thankful for the things that have happened, and I've been at peace with everything, forgiving them, understanding that it's beyond my understanding and beyond my you know, my control to be able to help. And I think they need some help that they'll never go seek. But yeah, I mean, yeah, our conversations have always been toxic, and I just got tired of it. You know what I mean? You can only go back and forth so many times, and I'm a strong believer, and I don't give a fuck if you're a blood related person in general. That does not give you an entitlement to disrespect me, because I am your child. You will respect me as an adult, and if you do not, then I will remove you from my existence. Like, you will not have contact with me. You will not talk to me in a certain way. I am a grown man. I am 26 years old. I understand emotions. I've gone through a lot, and it doesn't compare to some people's stories, and I understand that, but I have a standard, and I uphold that standard. So if you run your mouth and I don't like it, I will remove you. It's that simple.
And a big part of the documentary is now your new family, so to speak, your Philadelphia gym circuit, Marquez MMA. So is it safe to say this is kind of like your forever home with MMA? Like, to go into a little bit about what this family means to you.
I mean, listen, yeah, man, I'm loyal until someone does something where I don't like it, and I think, you know, it was, you know, somebody would have to do something very dramatic. Like let's just put it this way. Right now, yes, that is my family. That is who I care about. Those are the people I love. I love my coach. I mean, I love my coaches. I don't like my coaches. I love my coaches. I love my jiu-jitsu coach. I love my boxing coach. I love my friends. You know, Chandler included. Aside from all this shit, you know, I have friends. I have people that are friends that I consider family, that I talk to on a daily basis or a week to week basis. You know, I have teammates that I'm closer with than anybody I've, you know, encountered in life. You know, these are people that I choose to call family. Like Sean Brady is a very close friend of mine. My best friend from high school, David Stevens. Chandler being one of my best friends. You know, we play games together, and we've talked over the years, and obviously making this documentary. So yeah, man, I'm happy where I'm at. I have Webb Fitness with Jonathan Webb, my jiu-jitsu coach. You know what I mean? Like, that guy gives me time. He coaches me. He takes the time to help me. My wrestling coach, Cody Hamra. You know what I mean? So I have so many people that are trying to build me, because, again, they see not just some kid. They see somebody who's giving them effort. I give them 100%. And if I want to be the best, I have to give them 100%. If I wasn't giving them 100%, I don't think we would be this close, because I'd be another guy that was running his mouth and didn't show up and didn't train and didn't put the effort in. So part of these relationships that grow closer, because I'm also clocking in and showing them that I'm serious and that I want this for a living.
And I can attest, John Marquez, Jonathan Webb, great guys. Pleasure to know them and meet them. And Chandler, what are your ultimate goals with this film in terms of like distribution? Do you have plans for a festival run? Where do you see this film going?
So for me, I said this at the premiere. This has been something that we've obviously worked a very long time on, right? But my expertise is in making the film, and I can only take it so far. And I feel like with Disruptive Sports Group coming into the picture, what Joe was talking about with Alex Davis, not only did we get someone to take the film across the finish line, but I feel like I'm handing the baton off to Usain Bolt, like one of the best in the world, you know? So for me, it's amazing, because Joe and I, like for me, I don't want to say the work is done, so to speak, but with them at the helm now and taking this, the film's done. I can kind of enjoy it now, you know, because a lot of the times with me, when you're trying to get yourself off the ground in this industry, I'm playing a lot of roles, right? Like originally when it came to a premiere, I was like, okay, I guess, you know, when Joe and I started this documentary, we didn't know who was going to pick it up. We didn't know who was going to get involved. So I was thinking in my head, I might have to, you know, plan my own premiere party and launch it myself.
Been there.
Yeah. So it's like, oh my goodness, this is perfection. This is the best it possibly could have ever worked out. So I remember when I first talked with Bonnie at Talent Resources on the phone about the documentary, when they first saw it back in February, she asked me what my goals were. And I said, Bonnie, she can bag me this. The first thing I said is, I want as many people to see this as possible. I don't even care if my name's on it. I want as many people to see this as possible, because I think it'll change somebody's life if they watch it, depending on what they're going through. I think it affects people that way. And I know that because I've had success with the first documentary I made when I had no idea what I was doing with the camera, and it had success. So I'm like, now I really have built up 5 years of experience in this career, and I've gotten a lot better. We can really take this far. So I just wanted people to see it and to take something from it. But now that Disruptive has it and are pushing it out there, I mean, I'm just excited to see where it goes,
For sure, man. That's like director's dream. Get that distribution.
Yes, truly.
So congratulations. And Joe,
thank you.
In my opinion, the most important question of this interview that I've been waiting to ask is, for a kid or a person, anybody who watches this and finds themselves, unfortunately, in similar shoes that you were throughout your life, what words of advice do you have for them to succeed and achieve like great things in life? Because you're a perfect example of overcoming adversity.
Yeah. I think it's very hard to find a select few words to tell somebody that they're going to believe when they're that far down. There wasn't too much that someone could tell me. But then again, there are very few words that people could say that could change a person's life. And one of them was, "I believe you can do it." And that was said by my wrestling coach. He didn't understand where I was. He had no clue what I was going through or anything. And not that he needed to, but some of those things, I was wrestling and I was about to compete, and someone said that. And even though it was against a kid on my own team, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't the match of the year by any means, but it was someone didn't know me, but believed I had the skills to go out there and win. And, I would just tell that person or that child or that individual that was going through something, if they are in sports, particularly, I think this is a big message for kids that are in sports in particular. If you believe that, you can be one of the best wrestlers in the world and nobody believes that, don't abandon that because of everybody else's doubts. Self-belief is very powerful, and you almost have to be delusional in a sense to believe that you can beat everybody, that you can knock out everybody, that you can wrestle everybody, that you can be the best quarterback, there's no reason you can't. Everybody says that, and there's so many quotes for all this bullshit in the soft ass world, but literally, why can't it be you? If you're willing to give 100% and you're willing to convince every friend that you have to believe in you, to join your team, to invest in you, then keep going, man. You know what I mean? Stay in sports, and commit yourself to whatever it is 100%, but don't have your hand in too many different things. Figure out what you're passionate about. And if you don't know how to find a passion, the way I found my passion is I convinced myself and believed and felt that no matter what time it was, I would be willing to get up, whether it was 1 a.m., 10 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m. I would get up at any time of the day to keep chasing this dream to this level. And even when I was hurt, even when I was broke, even when I was negative in my account, even when the girls didn't think I was cool, even when my friends I didn't have as many friends, even when I didn't have the right coaching, even when I didn't train at the best gym, I never, ever abandoned what I thought in my stomach, which was, this crazy self-belief that I was meant to be more than average. So I would just say through all that, find something you're passionate about that you're willing to give up everything to go and get. And if that's really how you feel, then you'll be successful. And listen, not everybody has that, you know what I mean? So, but I'll tell you what, there's probably 99% of this world is lazy fucks. So just understand, you stick with it, you can stand out from the rest of them.
And my only MMA journalist question, I think, of this whole interview, I'm going to do it right now, Joe. UFC 290 coming up. Sean Brady's on that card. Any chance we see you on there? If not, when do you want to get back in there?
No chance. I got a partially torn rotator cuff, and I'm 26 years old. I'm on a 2-fight win streak. And yeah, I mean, honestly, that's the question I hate the most, just because it's the question asked by so many. Nothing makes me more annoyed, but I don't know. I don't know. I hope later this summer. I'm going to another doctor's appointment this week to go get this checked out. I do have a grappling match coming up on the 27th.
Yep.
It's not completely torn, so I'm training very safe, and it could be subject to change depending. But You know, right now I have a grappling match, and I'm excited about that. And honestly, I need to take some time out. You know, I'm going to be brutally honest. I'm a little bit burnt the fuck out mentally because I've been training, and I've been in this sport for so long. I'm not burnt out as far as motivation. I'm just burnt out as in like my body. I'm a big kid, and I need to take some time and live a little bit of life without an expectation of people, without an expectation of coaches, or without an expectation of anyone for that matter. So I'm gonna take a little bit of time, let this documentary get where it needs to go, and you know, maybe take a little vacation after this. I got some teammates that are coming up, Manny Morales and Christian Bobby. I'm gonna be cornering both of them. Manny Morales fights this weekend, so you know, just gonna show some support for my teammates. I'm gonna be there for Sean, try to train with him as much as I can safely, obviously, and then yeah, so we'll see what's next, but I'm not in no rush, man. I'm in a good spot, and thanks to Disruptive, I'm able to be in that spot, and Vayner Sports, you know. So let's make smart decisions and not impulsive decisions.
Hey, say less. I only ask because we're excited to see you back, but heal up, take your time, and enjoy being 26 years old because it doesn't last forever. But Chandler and Joe, I just want to say thank you guys very much for joining me. I really appreciate the time. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not kidding you. Like, this was a fantastic film. I love movies, and for me to come out of a movie like crying and really reflecting on the movie and very excited to talk to the director and the star, it says a lot because you're going to enjoy it too. And real quick before we get out of here, I just want to, Chandler, is there anything you want to say as a director to the audience that's going to see this?
Everything that Joe was just talking about at the end about a message to those kids, the message is the documentary, right? Like, everything that is Joe and motivates him and then made him overcome these circumstances. I think one of the most prolific things that echoes in my head, that's a theme in the film, is that the reason why Joe was so relentless after this goal was because there wasn't another option for him. You know, other people were saying, hey, you like cars, you want to work on, like, other people even like were saying like, hey, you got to have a plan B. For Joe, there was never anything else he was going to be doing, and that's why he's here. So I think that that's something that people will take from this film. And I'm just really excited for people to watch it. You know, we've been hyping it up on Instagram, this big premiere, getting all these messages. Where can I watch it? So I'm like, yeah, coming soon. I'm just excited for people to watch it.
Coming soon. Stay tuned, everybody, because you're not going to want to miss it. Joe Pyfer, Chandler Henry. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.